dias from Last Point. This is the Rorschach Argentina update from the 13th of August, 2026. A quick summary of what's going down in Argentina. Starting with healthcare policy, the government formalized a system that restricts free care for non-resident foreigners in federal hospitals. Non-resident foreign nationals must present valid health insurance or pay for non-emergency medical treatment prior to receiving care. Life-saving emergency treatment remains guaranteed regardless of legal status or ability to pay. The measure specifically affects federal health facilities, while provincial systems maintain their own autonomous regulations. The administration justified the move as an effort to eliminate what it calls medical tourism and curb public spending. Opponents argue that non-resident foreigners represent less than 1% of public hospital visits and that budget cuts, rather than foreign patients, strain the system. Following up on a story we covered last week regarding the government's legislative initiatives, the Senate approved a modified version of the Private Property Rights Reform Bill in the early hours of Friday the 7th, following intense debate and clashes outside Congress. To secure passage through the upper chamber, the administration dropped two controversial proposals: a measure allowing foreign nationals to purchase up to 25% of rural land, and a reform enabling the sale and development of land affected by wildfires. The approved text focuses on accelerating eviction proceedings for unpaid rent or squatting, establishing a 10-day notice period for tenants in arrears before landlords can initiate expedited court actions. It also restricts state expropriations by requiring tighter public interest justifications and full market value compensation prior to state takeover. The bill now heads to the Chamber of Deputies for final consideration. While lawmakers debate property rules in Congress, real economy sectors continue to experience deep contractions. Figures from the National Statistics Agency show industrial output dropped 7% since late 2023, while manufacturing capacity utilization stands at 58%. High-profile closures, including the tire manufacturer Fate, while retail sales at small businesses fell 24% over the same period. Luis Caputo, the economy minister, dismissed critics of the industrial slump during a public event, arguing that manufacturing previously relied on unsustainable state subsidies while consumers paid inflated prices. The Argentine Industrial Union responded that such comments hinder necessary dialogue, calling for policies that address tax burdens, labor costs, and energy competitiveness. In corporate news, state-controlled oil company YPF accepted an offer from power distributor Edenor to sell its majority stake in Metrogas for $780 million. Under the agreement submitted on Monday the 10th, YPF will transfer 70% of Metrogas and 5% of its trading arm, Metro Energía, to Edenor, which currently supplies power to over 3 million customers in the northern metropolitan area of Buenos Aires. The transaction removes YPF from natural gas distribution, resolving a long-standing legal prohibition against vertical integration between gas production and distribution. YPF executives stated that proceeds from the sale will go toward expanding operations in the Vaca Muerta shale formation. The deal requires final approval from energy sector regulators before completion. Amid ongoing national debates over foreign influence and economic reforms, daily life in Argentina raises broader questions about cultural integration. Writing for the Buenos Aires Times in English, Marwan Gill explores social inclusion and cultural integration in an op-ed titled, "Is Argentina a Racist Country? My Testimony as a Muslim Foreigner." The author reflects on a decade of personal experience living in the country, contrasting individual prejudices with a broader national tradition of openness and religious harmony. To read the full piece, check out the link in the show notes. Turning to regional transport news, low-cost carrier Flybondi faces operational collapse 8 months after investor Leonardo Scaterese promised a $1.7 billion fleet overhaul. Industry data shows the airline operated only 153 flights in July compared to over 2,000 during the same period last year, having grounded its fleet entirely for 2 weeks due to unpaid fuel bills. Civil aviation authorities in Brazil ordered the company to halt ticket sales within Brazilian territory. Former employees report unpaid severance and back pay, while hotel operators in Buenos Aires claim hundreds of millions of pesos in unpaid lodging bills for crew members. Although national aviation regulators approved a recovery plan allowing ticket sales to continue domestically, flight cancellations remain widespread. On that note regarding consumer protection and financial services, Deputy Pablo Juliano introduced a bill in Congress to regulate virtual wallet lending. The proposed legislation establishes the protection and defense of financial users regime, targeting non-bank fintech platforms that issue loans without credit evaluations or clear fee disclosures. The initiative follows reports that default rates on virtual wallets reached nearly 30%, affecting low-income users and young adults. The bill mandates clear information on total financial costs, prohibits automatic penalty charges without 10 days of grace, bans manipulative app designs, and restricts harassment during debt collection. From fintech credit regulations to formal employment impacts, over 1 million people have lost coverage through trade union health schemes since late 2023. Official data shows Superintendency of Health Services reveals that major union funds in construction, commerce, and state employment suffered member losses between 15 and 25% following formal job cuts. The drop in private and union-backed coverage pushed over 1.2 million people into exclusive reliance on public health care network. Young adults aged 15 to 29 face the highest vulnerability, with half of that demographic now depending entirely on state medical facilities. In urban transit news, transport authorities in the Buenos Aires metropolitan area altered the SUBE discount scheme starting in August. Commuters connecting from urban train lines to the subway system no longer receive the 50% discount on their second leg, paying full fare for both transfers. City officials explained that the national government withdrew funding for interjurisdictional transfers, leading the city to maintain discounts only when journeys originate on the subway or within city-managed bus routes. On judicial developments, the murder trial against former Viejas Locas frontman Cristian P.T. Alvarez began on Monday the 10th. The rock musician faces charges of simple homicide for the 2018 shooting death of Cristian Maximiliano Diaz in Villa Lugano, a working-class neighborhood located in the southwestern outskirts of Buenos Aires City, a crime Alvarez confessed to before journalists prior to turning himself in. Court proceedings had been suspended since 2022 after defense attorneys argued Alvarez was psychologically unfit for trial. Judges rejected further delay requests, citing the singer's recent public concert appearances as evidence of his ability to face trial. Moving from courtroom updates to urban culture, amateur film clubs are expanding across Buenos Aires as cinephiles seek communal movie experiences. Organizers host screenings in non-traditional venues, such as cultural centers, bars, and downtown office spaces, operating through word-of-mouth networks and private chat groups. If you're looking to explore the city's underground cinema scene, we've included a link in the show notes with a complete guide and locations for local film clubs. From local cinema to national celebrations, the Argentine Football Association, or AFA, unanimously designated the 15th of July as National Football Teams Day. Club presidents approved the decision to commemorate the national team's semifinal victory over England during the 2026 World Cup. The AFA officials stated the date honors men's, women's, youth, futsal, and beach soccer squads across all levels. In related football news, the nation is mourning the loss of Jorge Messi, father and lifelong agent of Lionel Messi, the national team's captain. Jorge Messi passed away on Saturday the 8th at age 68 in Rosario, a major port city located in Santa Fe province, north of Buenos Aires. After a long battle with cancer, Jorge Messi managed Lionel's career from his early youth steps in Rosario through his moves to Barcelona, Paris, and Miami. Football institutions, teammates, and fans across the country expressed their condolences to the Messi family. To close this edition, families across the country are preparing for Children's Day, Dia del Niño, or Dia de las Infancias, the gender-neutral name, takes place this Sunday the 16th. Established officially on the third Sunday of August by executive decree, the holiday initiates a 3-day weekend leading into the national holiday on Monday the 17th, commemorating General José de San Martín. Expect toy stores, shopping centers, and parks to host special activities and promotions for children throughout the extended weekend. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Anything to ask or tell us, email us at info@rorschach.com. If you want to be a peach, check out our t-shirts at rorschach.store, S-T-O-R-E. Nos vemos la próxima semana.